The night was cold, darker than usual, and the winds carried a strange silence. Ethan, a lone human traveler, was walking back from the abandoned outpost he had been exploring. The stars above glittered, but the land around him felt empty, almost haunted. He had learned long ago that when the silence was this heavy, something was hiding in it. He kept his rifle close, his boots crunching against the frozen ground. The colony world he lived on was not safe. Wild creatures, raiders, and desperate wanderers often roamed the night. Yet this night something else stirred in the shadows. Ethan's eyes caught movement near the edge of the forest, faint and weak. He stopped, every muscle tense, waiting for danger. Then he heard it. Not the growl of a beast, not the rustle of a raider's step, but the soft, broken sound of a child crying. Ethan frowned. Out here, so far from the villages, no child should be alone. He stepped forward cautiously, scanning the dark with his torch. The beam of light cut through the cold air and revealed two small figures crouched beside a broken cargo crate. Their clothes were torn, their skin bruised, and their faces streaked with tears. They were not human. Their eyes were larger, glowing faintly with a golden shimmer. Their skin carried the soft blue tone of an alien race Ethan had only seen once in his life. He froze, his breath catching. Two alien children, no more than 10 years old, staring at him with the fear of hunted animals. The older one pulled the younger girl close, shielding her with thin arms. She glared at Ethan, trying to be brave, though her lips trembled. The younger one buried her face in her sister's chest, sobbing quietly. For a long moment, no one moved. The cold wind howled around them, and Ethan's mind raced. He could walk away. It wasn't his problem. On this world, people disappeared all the time. To help them would mean risk, questions, and maybe even death if others found out. But then he looked closer. The older girl's hands were shaking from hunger, her eyes hollow. Yet she refused to let go of the smaller one. She was protecting her, even with nothing left to give. Ethan's chest tightened. He saw himself in them. Years ago, he too had been alone, left behind by war, with no family, no hope. A stranger had once reached out and given him a chance to live. Now fate seemed to place him in the same position. "Hey," he said softly, lowering his rifle so it wouldn't scare them. "I'm not here to hurt you." The older girl flinched, her golden eyes narrowing. "Stay back," she whispered in a trembling voice. Her basic wasn't perfect, but it was clear enough. "We don't trust humans." Ethan swallowed. That cut deep, but he didn't blame her. Humans were not kind to aliens here. Some saw them as tools, others as prey. He took a slow step closer and pulled a small ration pack from his belt. With one hand, he tossed it near them, letting it slide across the dirt. The younger girl's eyes flicked toward it. Hunger made her body tremble, but she didn't move until her sister gave permission. After a long pause, the older one grabbed the pack, ripped it open, and handed the food to her sibling. The little one devoured it desperately, tears streaming down her face as she chewed. Ethan waited, saying nothing. He knew trust could not be forced. When the older girl finally ate a small bite herself, her eyes lifted to his. Suspicion still lingered, but it was softer now, touched by confusion. "What's your name?" Ethan asked quietly. The girl hesitated. Then, with a voice barely audible, she said, "Lyra. And this is my sister, Syrah." Ethan nodded. "I'm Ethan." He knelt down, keeping his movements slow. "You shouldn't be out here. Where are your parents?" Lyra's eyes darkened. She pulled Syrah closer and shook her head. "Gone." One word, heavy as stone. Ethan felt a weight in his chest. Orphans, lost on a world that would eat them alive. He looked at the crate they were hiding. Beside, it was part of a crashed supply pod, probably from some smuggler ship. No wonder no one had come looking for them. The wind grew sharper, and Ethan knew they wouldn't survive another night in the open. His thoughts battled. Help them or walk away. Helping them meant danger. But as he looked at their frail figures, shivering and clinging to each other, the choice was already made. "Come with me," Ethan said firmly. "I'll take you somewhere safe." Lyra's eyes widened. "Why? Why would a human help us?" Ethan paused, searching for words. Finally, he said, "Because someone once helped me, and because no one deserves to be left alone." The silence, stretched, broken only by the whimper of Sira. Then slowly, Lyra stood still holding her sister's hand. She didn't fully trust him, but desperation outweighed fear. She gave a small nod. Ethan offered his hand, not forcing, just waiting. After a moment's hesitation, Sira's tiny fingers reached out and held his. That night, under the stars of a hostile world, Ethan walked away with 2 orphans who would change his life forever. He did not know then that this act of kindness would echo across years, calling down the power of a royal starship to his very doorstep. The following morning, Ethan realized how much his life had changed overnight. His small cabin, hidden on the edge of the settlement, was no longer silent. 2 pairs of golden alien eyes followed his every move. Lyra sat near the fire, clutching her younger sister Sira, watching him with the cautious stare of someone ready to run at any sign of danger. Sira, though still frightened, peeked curiously at the strange human who had brought them food and warmth. Ethan wasn't used to company. His days had always been quiet, hunting, trading scraps, repairing old machines. Now every sound inside the cabin carried new meaning. He placed warm broth in front of them. Sira grabbed it eagerly, but Lyra stopped her and tested it first, making sure it wasn't poisoned. Only when she was satisfied did she let her sister drink. Ethan noticed the way Lyra always placed herself between danger and her sibling. She wasn't just a sister, she was mother, protector, and shield all at once. Raising alien children wasn't something Ethan had ever imagined. He didn't even know if the settlement would allow it. Many humans here hated outsiders. But Ethan made a quiet decision. He didn't care what they thought. He had taken these girls in and he would keep them safe. The first weeks were difficult. The girls didn't speak much. Sira cried often at night, and Lyra stayed awake to comfort her, whispering in their alien tongue. Ethan didn't understand their language, but he understood their pain. He gave them space, waiting for the right moments to speak. Slowly, trust grew. One morning, Ethan caught Sira laughing as she tried to chase a small wooden toy he had carved. It was the first time he had heard joy in her voice, and it lit a fire of hope inside him. Lyra, however, stayed guarded. She rarely smiled, always watching Ethan, testing his actions. She wanted proof he would not abandon them. Ethan provided food, taught them how to help around the cabin and fix their torn clothes. He showed them how to chop wood, how to prepare simple meals, and how to patch broken tools. In return, the girls helped him clean, gather herbs, and even learn to feed his old hunting hound, Rex. With time, the cabin no longer felt lonely. It felt alive. But life outside was not so forgiving. When Ethan took them to the nearby market for supplies, the reaction was instant. Whispers spread. Human settlers turned to glare. One man spat on the ground as Ethan walked past with the alien children. "Traitor," he muttered. Another woman hissed, "Why protect them? They're not our kind." Lyra's grip on Ethan's hand tightened. Sira hid behind his leg. Ethan's jaw clenched, but he said nothing. He simply led them through the market, ignoring the hatred. Later that night, when the girls asked him why people hated them, he struggled for words. Finally, he told them the truth. Some people fear what they don't understand, but that doesn't mean we must become like them. Those words stayed with Lyra. Slowly, her suspicion toward Ethan began to melt. She saw how he shielded them from cruelty, how he never raised his voice, how he gave the best part of his meal to Sira. One night, as the fire cracked and shadows danced on the cabin walls, she finally whispered, "Why do you help us? You could live alone. It would be easier." Ethan looked at her, his face lined with years of hardship. "Because once someone helped me when I had nothing, and because I know how it feels to be left behind." Lyra didn't reply, but her eyes softened. She didn't realize it then, but those words were carving their way into her heart. Years began to pass like this. The seasons changed. and so did the girls. Sierra grew playful, her laughter filling the cabin each morning. Lyra became strong, sharper, learning skills Ethan taught her, how to track, how to mend tools, how to defend herself. She never stopped protecting her sister, but she also began protecting Ethan in small ways. If someone insulted him in the market, she stood tall beside him, her golden eyes fierce with silent defiance. The bond between the three grew unbreakable. Ethan was no longer just the man who had found them. He was their guardian, their teacher, and in time the father they had never known. Yet beneath this fragile peace, shadows moved. Travelers whispered of strange patrols searching nearby systems. Old traders spoke of missing heirs of alien royalty lost years ago. Ethan dismissed it at first, focusing only on the small family he had built. But deep inside, he felt the storm gathering. For now, he kept his cabin warm, his daughters safe, and his heart steady. He didn't yet know that the kindness he had shown would echo across galaxies, and that one day, the stars themselves would come looking for him. Years slipped by on the lonely colony world. Ethan's cabin, once a quiet shelter, had become a home filled with laughter, warmth, and responsibility. Sierra grew into a lively young girl with endless curiosity, while Lyra matured into a sharp, watchful young woman. She carried herself with dignity far beyond her years, always careful, always aware. Ethan noticed it often. Her posture, her voice, even the way she commanded a room. She wasn't just protective. She had the presence of someone born to lead. The first hint came from an old trader. Ethan had taken the girls into town to buy supplies, and as usual, whispers followed them through the market. But this time, an alien merchant from the outer rim froze when he saw Lyra. His wrinkled eyes widened, and his hands trembled as he muttered something in his native tongue. "What did he say?" Ethan asked, confused. The merchant swallowed hard, his voice shaking. "The crest. Her eyes. I have seen them before. In the royal houses of the Zalari." His gaze darted nervously toward Lyra. "You must keep her hidden, human. If others see, they will come." Ethan frowned, but Lyra said nothing. She kept her head down, her hand gripping Sierra's tightly as they left the market. Later that night, when Ethan asked her about it, she refused to speak. Her golden eyes stared into the fire, heavy with secrets she wasn't ready to share. More signs appeared in the years that followed. Once, while Ethan was repairing an old comms unit, Sierra accidentally activated a hidden frequency. The signal carried strange symbols neither Ethan nor the girls understood. Yet when Lyra glanced at it, her face went pale. She quickly switched it off, whispering words in her alien tongue. Ethan caught only one in basic. Royal. Another time, when bandits tried to rob them on the road, Lyra's voice cut through the chaos with commanding authority. She shouted words Ethan couldn't translate, and for a moment, the raiders froze as if stunned by something deeper than fear. Ethan never forgot that moment. It was Sierra, however, who revealed the most. One quiet evening, she asked Ethan an innocent question. "Why do people bow to kings and queens? Lyra says some are born to rule, like us." The word struck Ethan like a blade. He looked at her carefully. "What do you mean, like us?" Sierra's face turned red. She glanced at Lyra, who quickly hushed her with a sharp look. But Ethan had already seen the truth in the child's eyes. Something was hidden. Something Lyra carried for both of them. That night, when Sierra fell asleep, Ethan confronted her sister. "What are you not telling?" "Me, Lyra. Who are you really?" Lyra's expression hardened. For a long time she said nothing. Then in a voice heavy with weight she whispered, "We are not only orphans, our bloodline, it carries a throne." Ethan's heart pounded. He stared at her, stunned. "A throne? Are you saying—" "We were daughters of Zalari royalty," Lyra interrupted, her eyes shimmering with sorrow. "Our parents were killed in a betrayal. We were taken by traitors left to die far from home. No one was supposed to know we lived." The fire crackled between them, throwing shadows across their faces. Ethan leaned back, struggling to breathe. All those years he had thought he was raising two abandoned children. But now, The truth hit him like a storm. He had been sheltering heirs, royal heirs of an alien kingdom. "Why didn't you tell me before?" he asked. "Because it is dangerous," Lyra said firmly. "If anyone finds out, armies will come. We will be hunted. And you—" Her voice softened. "You will be killed for protecting us." Ethan rubbed his forehead, trying to process everything. Yet deep down, he realized it explained everything. The strange looks from travelers, the fear in the merchant's eyes, the authority in Lyra's voice. It all connected. Despite the danger, Ethan didn't flinch. He met Lyra's gaze and said, "Royalty or not, you're still my girls. I promise to keep you safe. That doesn't change." For the first time in years, Lyra's hard expression cracked. Her lips trembled, and she looked away quickly, hiding the emotion that threatened to break free. She had carried the secret like a burden, believing no one could truly accept her for what she was. But Ethan's words pierced that wall. Outside the cabin, the night wind howled, carrying with it the whispers of galaxies beyond. Somewhere out there, powers were searching for the lost heirs of Zalari. And though Ethan didn't know it yet, their secret would soon bring the stars themselves to his doorstep. The secret did not stay buried forever. Once the truth of the girl's bloodline whispered through the galaxy, shadows began to move. Ethan's quiet life on the edge of the colony slowly filled with unease, as if unseen eyes had turned toward his cabin. It started with strangers. One evening, Ethan noticed a pair of armored traders in the market. They weren't buying or selling much, only watching. Their eyes followed Lyra and Sira as the girls walked beside him, their golden eyes hidden under cloaks. When Ethan turned toward the strangers, they quickly looked away, but he could feel their attention like knives at his back. Soon after, travelers began asking questions. A man from the southern settlements knocked at his door, claiming to be lost. Yet his questions were sharp. "Do you live alone? Have you seen alien children in these parts?" Ethan sent him away, but his instincts screamed danger. The tension grew heavier each passing week. Ethan doubled his patrols around the cabin, teaching the girls how to stay hidden, how to vanish into the forest if danger came. Lyra understood quickly, her sharp mind already trained by years of survival. But Sira still struggled, her heart too pure, her trust too open. Then came the first attack. Bandits rode in under the cover of night, firing at the cabin with stolen rifles. Ethan fought with practiced skill, returning fire from behind the barricades he had built. Lyra stood beside him, fearless, her commands steady, guiding Sira to safety. When the smoke cleared, 2 raiders lay dead and the others fled. Ethan examined their bodies. They carried no symbols of local gangs, only strange tattoos of stars and crowns. He knew then this was no simple robbery. Someone had sent them. Rumors followed. In the settlement, whispers spoke of a bounty placed in the outer systems. 2 lost heirs of the Zalari throne. Whoever found them would be rewarded with riches and power. Some said even mercenary fleets were searching. The girl's secret was bleeding into the open. Lyra noticed Ethan's worry, though he tried to hide it. One night, as they sat near the fire, she asked, "Are we in danger because of us?" Ethan hesitated, then nodded. "Yes. But danger was always part of this world. What matters is how we face it." Lyra lowered her gaze. "Maybe we should leave. If we run far enough, maybe they won't find us." Ethan shook his head. "You can't outrun shadows. Sooner or later they follow. Better to stand, to fight, and to protect what matters." His voice carried calm certainty, but inside he wondered how long he could protect them against the weight of galactic powers. The girls grew older, and with age came new strength. Lyra trained with Ethan daily, her movements sharp and precise, learning to fight like a soldier. She carried herself like a leader, her voice commanding respect even among hostile villagers. Sira, though softer, had a gift of words. She calmed arguments, soothed fears, and carried hope in her laughter. Together, they were more than survivors. They were becoming symbols. But symbols attract enemies. One stormy evening, a messenger drone descended near the cabin. Its metal wings buzzed as it released a holographic message into the rain. The image flickered to life. A Zalari noble in shining armor, his voice cold as steel. To whoever shelters the royal bloodline, the year. Hologram declared, "You cannot hide them forever. They belong to the throne. Surrender them and you may live. Resist and you will be crushed beneath the Empire's hand." The message faded, leaving silence and rain. Sierra trembled, clutching Ethan's sleeve. Lyra's face hardened, her golden eyes burning with quiet fire. "We are not theirs to claim," she said. Ethan placed a hand on her shoulder. "Then we stand together." But in his heart, he knew the storm was only beginning. Every choice he had made to keep them safe had drawn them closer to this moment. And somewhere beyond the stars, fleets were preparing to descend. The shadows of galactic powers had finally found their trail. The warning from the hologram changed everything. Ethan knew their quiet life was over. No longer was this just about keeping two girls hidden. It was about standing against powers far larger than anything he had ever imagined. Yet in his heart, the choice was already made. He would protect them no matter the cost. The next days were filled with preparation. Ethan reinforced the cabin with stronger barricades, dug hidden storage pits for food and weapons, and mapped out escape routes. Through the forest, he taught Lyra how to handle rifles with precision, how to set traps, and how to lead when he was not there. Sierra he trained differently. How to send signals, how to hide safely, and how to survive if she was separated. He carried the weight of knowing that someday these lessons might be the only thing keeping them alive. One night, Lyra confronted him by the fire. Her golden eyes burned with a mix of anger and sorrow. "Why do you risk yourself for us?" she asked. "You owe us nothing. We bring you danger. The galaxy wants us dead or captured. If you gave us up, your life would be easier." Ethan stared at the flames before answering. His voice was steady yet filled with emotion. "I owe you everything. The day I found you, my life had meaning again. You are my family. And family is not something you surrender to fear." Lyra's lips trembled, though she tried to hide it. Sierra leaned against Ethan's arm, whispering, "We don't want to lose you." Danger arrived sooner than expected. At dawn, Ethan spotted ships on the horizon. Sleek, dark vessels marked with the sigils of mercenary guilds. Dozens of fighters spilled into the skies, engines roaring. They weren't coming to negotiate, they were coming to take. Ethan acted quickly. "Lyra, Sierra, go to the forest hideout we built. Stay there until I call." Lyra shook her head, defiant. "No, we fight together." But Ethan placed his hand firmly on her shoulder. "Listen to me. You both carry more than your own lives. You carry the hope of your people. If I fall, you must live. That is my choice." Tears shone in Lyra's eyes, but she nodded. She took Sierra's hand, and together they vanished into the trees while Ethan stayed behind, rifle in hand, heart steady. The mercenaries descended like wolves surrounding the cabin. Their leader stepped forward, a towering alien clad in black armor. "Human," he growled, "surrender the royal heirs. Do so, and your death will be swift." Ethan's voice carried across the clearing. "They are not yours to claim. If you want them, you'll have to walk through me." Laughter rippled through the raiders, but Ethan didn't flinch. He triggered the traps he had set. Mines hidden under the dirt erupted, scattering mercenaries into chaos. Gunfire roared as Ethan fought from cover, his rifle spitting fire into the advancing lines. He moved like a ghost, striking and vanishing. His every step fueled not by survival but by loyalty to the girls he had raised as his own. For hours the battle raged. Ethan's body carried wounds, but he refused to fall. Every drop of blood he shed was a shield for Lyra and Sierra. In the forest, the girls listened to the distant echoes of gunfire. Sierra wept silently, clinging to Lyra, while Lyra's heart burned with guilt. She wanted to return, to fight by Ethan's side, but his words echoed in her mind. "You must live." Back at the cabin, Ethan finally stood face to face with the armored leader. His rifle was empty, his knife drawn. The alien sneered, towering over him. One human against a galaxy? Foolish. Ethan spat blood, but his eyes were steady. One human with a family to protect is never foolish. With a roar, he lunged, slashing with every ounce of strength left in him. The battle turned savage, steel against steel, until both men crashed to the ground. When silence finally fell, the mercenaries were in retreat, their numbers shattered. The leader lay defeated, his armor broken. Ethan, battered and bleeding, dragged himself to his feet. He had survived, but at a cost his body could barely endure. As the sun rose, Lyra and Sira emerged from the forest, running to him with tears streaming down their faces. Ethan knelt weakly, pulling them close with trembling arms. "I told you. I'd keep you safe," he whispered. In that moment, the bond between them was sealed forever. Not just guardian and children, but father and daughters, united by sacrifice, and loyalty stronger than any throne or crown. 12 years passed like a slow river across the stars. The colony world changed, seasons turned, but the bond inside Ethan's small home remained unshaken. The two alien girls he had once found starving in the cold were no longer children. They had grown into young women with strength in their voices, purpose in their eyes, and a quiet fire in their hearts. Lyra, once guarded and wary, stood tall now. Her golden eyes carried the authority of a leader. She had learned everything Ethan taught: how to survive, how to fight, how to protect. Yet she had also grown into her own role, someone others began to notice when she spoke, someone who inspired respect without asking for it. Sira had blossomed differently. She became the voice of kindness, carrying warmth even in harsh places. She spoke with wisdom that softened hearts, a balance to Lyra's sharp edge. Where Lyra stood like a shield, Sira became a light. For Ethan, watching them grow was both pride and pain. His body bore scars from the battles he had fought for them, his hair grayed, and his hands stiffened with age. Yet whenever he looked at them, laughter at his table, or saw them training together in the yard, he knew every sacrifice had been worth it. They were his daughters in every way that mattered, but the galaxy had not forgotten them. Rumors spread quietly through the settlement, strange ships spotted in the skies, scouts in unfamiliar armor asking questions. Ethan felt the same shadow he had faced years ago return, but this time it was heavier, more deliberate. The past was catching up to them. It was a morning like any other when the silence broke. Ethan was chopping wood outside the cabin, while Lyra and Sira prepared breakfast. Inside, then the ground trembled. Birds scattered from the trees. A deep, thunderous hum rolled across the valley. Ethan froze, axe in hand, eyes lifting to the sky. From beyond the clouds, light broke through. A massive vessel descending, its hull shimmering, with the royal insignias of the Zalari. Towers of silver metal glowed like fire against the dawn, banners of gold and blue fluttering in the wind as if carried by unseen hands. It wasn't a ship for trade or war. It was a royal starship, a vessel meant for ceremony, honor, and destiny. The cabin door burst open. Lyra rushed out first, followed by Sira, their eyes wide. They didn't need to ask, they knew who had come. The starship lowered slowly, casting its shadow over the valley. Settlers from miles away gathered at the hills, staring in awe. No one had ever seen such a ship land here. To them, it was a myth of power, a story of kings and queens suddenly written in the sky. Ethan's heart pounded as the ship touched the ground. Dust and light swirled, and from the great doors at its side, a delegation emerged, warriors in polished armor, banners held high, and at their center a figure cloaked in silver robes stepped forward. The moment felt unreal. The years of hiding, of running, of silence, they had all led here. The girls stood frozen, their hands gripping each other tightly. The robed figure removed his hood, revealing an elder Zalari noble with eyes as golden as theirs. His voice carried like thunder, though calm, filled with reverence. "Princess Lyra, Princess Sira, daughters of the lost line, we have searched across the stars for you. At last, the blood of our kingdom has returned. Gasps echoed through the settlers. All the years of whispers, the suspicions, the strange looks, now the truth lay bare. The orphans Ethan had raised were not only survivors, they were heirs. Lyra's breath shook. Sira's eyes filled with tears. Slowly they stepped forward, though their gaze never left Ethan. He stood behind them, axe still in hand, his weathered face unreadable. The noble bowed deeply before the girls, but then his eyes turned toward Ethan. And you, the human who sheltered them, who gave them life when all others abandoned them. You are known to us. The royal family owes you a debt beyond measure. The words struck Ethan like a wave. He had never thought of debts or honor. He had only done what felt right. Yet now, before the galaxy, his simple choice had become legend. Lyra reached back, taking Ethan's hand in hers, strong and unshaken. We would not be here without him, she declared. Her voice rang with authority, no longer a girl's whisper but the command of a leader. If you honor us, then you must honor him. The noble bowed lower. Behind him the warriors raised their weapons in salute, and the banners of the royal house dipped toward Ethan. The sight stunned the settlers, leaving them in silence. Ethan said nothing, but inside his chest ached with a strange mix of pride and disbelief. He was only a man who once walked home in the cold and chose to help two frightened girls. Yet that night had led to this moment, the landing of a royal starship, not for a kingdom, not for power, but for him. The royal starship loomed like a mountain of light, its banners swaying in the cold wind. Settlers stood frozen on the hills, whispering among themselves. Some who had once spat at the alien children now stared in silence, realizing they had been living beside royalty all along. But for Ethan, none of that mattered. His eyes were only on the two young women standing before him, the daughters he had raised, the ones who had become his world. Lyra and Sira stepped forward, their cloaks fluttering in the breeze. The noble delegation bowed deeply again, but this time the sisters did not move with hesitation. They held their heads high, their golden eyes steady. Years of hiding and fear were behind them. They were no longer orphans cowering in the dark. They were heirs who had found their strength through the love of a human. The elder noble spoke with reverence. Our kingdom mourned you as lost. Many believed the bloodline was broken forever. Yet here you stand, alive, because of this man. His hand pointed toward Ethan. Every soldier in the royal guard turned to face him, raising their weapons in salute. The sight was overwhelming. Ethan, scarred and weary, shifted uneasily. He had never wanted titles or glory. He had only wanted to keep two children safe. Lyra's voice cut through the silence, calm but unyielding. We cannot speak of our return without speaking of him. For 12 years this human gave us life, shelter, and hope. He is not only our guardian, he is our father. The crowd gasped. Even the royal delegation looked shaken. Never in the history of the Zalari had alien blood been spoken of with such devotion, such claim. But Lyra did not waver. She squeezed Ethan's hand tightly, anchoring her words with truth. Sira, her voice softer but filled with emotion, stepped beside her. Sister. When all others abandoned us, he stood. When death came, he fought. When we were children with nothing, he gave us everything. If we are to take back the throne, we will not do it without him. The noble elder lowered his head, humbled. Then, so it shall be. The galaxy will know this story, that a human, against all odds, preserved a kingdom. The settlers on the hill dropped to their knees, not out of fear, but awe. They saw Ethan differently now, not the quiet man who kept to himself, but the guardian who had shielded royalty and changed the fate of stars. Ethan, however, only sighed, shaking his head. I never wanted crowns or empires, he murmured. I just wanted you safe. Lyra smiled faintly, her eyes softening. And because of that you gave us more than a kingdom ever could. You gave us a home. Sierra wrapped her arms around him, tears streaming down her face. And now, Father, it is time we give back to you. The Royal Guard opened their formation, creating a path toward the starship. The sisters turned, leading Ethan forward. The settlers parted in silence, bowing as they passed. For the first time in his life, Ethan felt the weight of the galaxy's eyes on him, not as an outcast, not as a loner, but as someone who mattered. Inside the starship, the halls gleamed with gold and crystal. Songs of the Zalari filled the air as the crew honored their returned princesses. Yet everywhere they went, the sisters spoke of him. When questioned about their survival, they told the truth. We lived because of Ethan. In the days that followed, messages spread across the stars. The tale of the human who saved 2 lost heirs became a legend. Across colonies and empires, people whispered of the man who defied mercenaries, who raised royalty in silence, who taught that kindness was stronger than bloodlines. But Ethan did not seek the legend. On quiet nights aboard the royal vessel, he sat with his daughters, sharing stories, laughter, and the peace of a family that had endured storms together. He was still the same man, scarred, simple, stubborn, but to Lyra and Sierra, he was everything. When the Royal Council finally offered him honors, titles, and riches, Ethan declined. "I don't need a throne," he said simply. "I already have what I came for, a family." The council respected his wish, but the sisters made sure his name was etched in history. Across every Zalari world, one truth was spoken. A single human's loyalty had rebuilt a kingdom, and so it was that Ethan, who once walked alone in the cold night, ended his journey not as a forgotten traveler, but as the father of queens. The galaxy remembered him not for power or conquest, but for compassion, the kind of compassion that changes empires.